This is a part 2 to my video titled Influencer Kids of 2018. And I saw this comment somewhere, and this is a good example of the stuff that I talk about. And I thought that this was like really interesting that this person mentioned this, because I've been thinking about this too, actually, more recently. Not even really when I made the part 1, I wasn't thinking about this, but now I am. Although I can't say that what's her name, Lil Tay, she kind of started to become relevant again a little while ago, like maybe over a year ago, because of course eventually she got pushed into the music industry, and all of a sudden she's an artist now. Yeah, I'm not saying that to be rude, but I'm just like pointing out the fact that they always do this. They take the person through trauma-based mind control, lock them up, exploit them, torture them, use them as like an internet laughing cow or laughing stock or whatever, and then they get them to start making music. And this goes along with a realization I had years ago, starting off with the hypersexuality agenda. So as I've talked about a couple times before, definitely way more in the evidence channels, I haven't mentioned it in that detail since then, because for one, I don't really remember like most of my life or yesterday, so I couldn't really do that again. But I mentioned more than somewhat recently, a little bit of it, that one of the biggest issues for me was hypersexuality and sexually acting out, which went along with the limerick obsessions and the romantic obsessions, and then just getting like really demonized at a certain point in my life due to different things that were going on, and the sexual addiction mostly from like, well, okay, it started at maybe like 3, but I would say that the highlight of it all, if that's even like the term for it, the highlight was definitely age 8 to like 11 or 10. I would say like 8 to 10. That was like the worst of it all, and then it was kind of mostly whatever after that. But anyways, at 8, I wanted to like do research to try to figure out more about what was going on. I already knew about like the demonization thing, because like, I don't know, for whatever reason I knew about like lust spirits, but I didn't know about the marine spirits, which I really didn't even find out about that term till 14, or at least learn more about that till 14. But when I started doing research on my symptoms at 8, I did find out about some marine spirits, but only like the incubus and the succubus ones. And then I made the connection with subliminal messages of hypersexuality and how like the music and beta sex kitten programming, the whole point of that is to like pretty much appeal to people and drag them into further brainwashing if they've already been through SA. It helps to further program the soul splits / fractures, and also just make you more demonized, because like it's all witchcraft and spells. But of course there's also the fact that music can initiate people as well, which kind of makes me think of some lawsuit where some dude said that Beyonce's music made him gay. But anyways, so yeah, I saw the connection between the marine spirits, trauma of course, sexual addiction, hypersexuality. The spirit of lust was the first thing I knew about, but then I learned about the other stuff. Perversion spirits. It was something else that I think I'm forgetting. And then also doing research on hypersexuality, subliminal messages, and cartoons, but like that's more so a side thing with this topic. But anyways, the point I'm getting at is that the reason that these people are becoming relevant again is because, at least I feel anyways, they're about to plan something big with these people, but I don't know, because like honestly a lot of stuff is about to go down. I also feel like they're trying to use these people as a distraction once again. But yeah. And then just a side thing, so I noticed that this dude is doing that Freemason hand symbol with the one finger to the face, and I noticed that there's 2 creators that do this often, and I'm pretty sure they're Masons. So one of them is a Christian content creator, and I think I first like saw some of his videos and thumbnails like a year or so ago, and like in every thumbnail he's doing it. In fact, both of them are. The other dude, he just makes videos about different racist things that happen, and honestly, he has some decent videos. I would say both of them are kind of like reaction channels, but the second one is more so talking about like racist stuff that happens to people and things like that, but they're both always doing the one finger to the face, and like nobody does that but Masons. It's a Mason symbol anyways, and like I can't really think of any other reason why someone would really do that. I don't remember what it means, but all I remember is that it's a Mason symbol. Honestly, it kind of makes me think of like the mewing thing that people were talking about, or at least that teachers were talking about. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if anybody was ever really doing that crap, but maybe I'm too isolated. But now to think about it, the mewing quote-unquote trend that maybe actually ever happened makes me think about this symbol as well. But as people should know, all these like challenges and trends, they're all rituals. These are literally like CIA orchestrated quote-unquote trends made to get viral to get people to lose their lives because they're all sacrifices. Well, not all of them. Some of them are like the Tide Pod thing, the subway surfing thing, the thing where people were like walking on boxes or something, or crates, and like falling off and breaking their back and stuff like that. And what that actually was, that was the Freemason steps, or the Freemason ladder. So like if you look up the Freemason diagram, or at least that's what I usually type in when I'm looking for it, but it's probably called something else. You may see the step one where like there's the different levels and there's the different people standing on the steps. That's what that was with the crate challenge. The blue whale, a lot of people now say that never actually happened, and honestly I wouldn't be surprised if it was all staged, but people say it didn't happen, but there's also like people that said that it was created by a psychologist, which I wouldn't be surprised by, but overall it was CIA orchestrated anyway. So that was some rituals, and it was all done to get people to like sacrifice themselves, specifically kids. But like I said, some people now claim that it never actually was happening and nobody actually ever died. I wouldn't be surprised if that was true, because you can't really believe anything you see in the media. I can't lie though, now to think about it, the blue whale psyop, that is pretty similar to like the stuff with the school hoopins, as I call them. So like I could see how that could totally be a psyop. I mean, it makes sense. And then it even makes me think about this recent thing that's called like, what was it, 472? That's probably not it, but like police were claiming that they found some predatory group that targets girls or something, and like supposedly it was ran by a 17-year-old. But like honestly, anytime police claim that they're like shutting down some type of trafficking ring or something, but then the people that they're quote unquote gonna arrest are all kids, I always know it's some bull crap, and that they're of course taking up for the real perpetrators. But yeah, that's probably fake too. And if it is real, it reminds me of the video I made like a year or two ago where I was talking about how the kid victims get charged with quote-unquote CP. And before I move on to the next topic, I have to say, people are still jumping around the real issue. Nobody with like a decent family situation is about to carve some dude's face in the bottom of their foot because some faceless person on the internet told them to. The link will be in the description. This is a screenshot from a video about Daniel Bergoli and Alabama Barker. I have no idea who that is at all, but it's something that is being pushed through the media. But I mean, at the end of the day, if they are really fighting, I wouldn't be surprised, because I mean, they're all industry kids or industry people in horrible situations with uncomprehendable amounts of trauma and trauma-based mind control, DID splits that nobody cares about, because everybody wants to make it about somebody quote-unquote pretending to be black and somebody quote-unquote being bad and needing a whooping, because people never want to take accountability for the issues in society, and they never want to talk about the real issue or what's really going on in these completely staged and false flag situations. But yeah, anywho, this is just an interesting comment, especially like one of the responses. I think that Bad Baby would win if Ice Spice and Bad Baby had a fight, to be honest. Okay, actually, you know what? I forgot. This isn't the Alabama Barker comment. But still, this is a situation that's being pushed through the media. Her supposedly like fighting Alabama Barker over some abusive industry dude, which I can only imagine if he's even her age or not. If he's like, I don't know, 45. I don't even remember what he looked like. So yeah, somebody had a nerve to say this bull crap. That baby been fighting her mom since kindergarten. And it's like, why? Why? But one thing I can say about the comment though is that it shows that abuse has just been really, really normalized. And like I didn't say that because I had to edit that part out because I screwed up. But I'm not trying to bash the people who make these comments, of course. I'm just like using them as examples. Because I just feel like it's a good way to find examples without like going out and interviewing people or doing that thing that some people do where they go around like secretly recording people on the street and quote unquote interviewing and then they don't pay the people. I don't want to do all that. I feel like with the fact that the internet is here, it's like it just makes it easier to show all the bullcrap that society normalizes and how hurting people really are. So you mean to tell me she didn't do all of that to be famous? And here we go again. Now this person could be like 10, but of course, commonly people who make comments like this are adults with cognitive dissonance about their own life situations with their family and parents who are at risk of becoming abusers themselves. But also there's another fact, and it's just that people are just so brainwashed they don't see anything wrong with things that are very wrong, and people are taught to not think for themselves. And so they're just taught to think, oh, well, this person, or this kid really, they wanted this to happen because they're quote-unquote bad and they just wanted attention. And this is something that's also pushed a lot in the Cash for Kids system, really to brainwash you into making you feel like everything is your fault. But I'm not going to go into that because I'll be way somewhere else. In fact, it makes me think about the first viral video on YouTube, or one of the very first. And I remember my mom had showed it to me, but this was like way after the fact. I was about to go off on a rant. Anyways, in this viral video, there was this dude, I forgot what it was called, I don't even think it's up anymore, but it was up for years. And he was sitting at the table with his family, and pretty much, I don't remember exactly the full situation or what they even said to him, but like, they would say something to him and do reactive abuse, and then he would flip out and he would start screaming and throwing stuff and flipping tables and throwing chairs and breaking stuff. And then after the first one went viral or started to like get views, they started making more videos. They did eventually stop, but like over the course of a couple years they made a couple of videos of this relative of theirs that they would I think they would call like whatever his name was, crazy freakouts or something like that. And it's just like that. And that was one of the first viral videos. It was somebody's reactive abuse and torture by their demonic family system that was used for entertainment for people to laugh at and say, oh, I would never get mad about something like that, or I would never do that to my mom, or I would never flip out like that. And that's what these situations are all like, although these people are all in bloodlines as well. I don't know about that dude. Sounds like he was just in like a messed up situation. But yeah, I want to go off on a rant, but I know it's going to make this way longer than it has to be. So, someone said, nah, her mom put her on Dr. Phil to humiliate her. Her mom did it for fame, not her intention. And it's just really interesting how society is always taught to blame the youth for everything. Like, blame the toddler, blame the newborn who can't even do anything. No accountability nowhere. And as I always say, the misogyny agenda and the feminist agenda, not only they're anti-family, but they're both anti-youth. Because what they really boil down to is take out all the kids. Take out all the younger people. And then there's the F them kids movement as well. And like, I understand people not wanting to have kids because they don't want to traumatize them and stuff, but like, there's the depopulation part, but there's also the fact that people are anti-youth. But I'll talk about that more when I finally actually make the video about Children of the Corn and how technically the kids weren't really the bad guys. And I know people are gonna flip out, but like I've been thinking about this for forever now, but very recently I found this short of a clip from Children of the Corn. Don't remember which one. And it was a good example that I could totally use for making my point about how the Children of the Corn weren't the bad guys. And I had to watch this movie like literally every day for like years of my life. That and Chucky. I had to watch Chucky way more though, and that was like the only DVD, but like honestly that's a form of abuse, but I wasn't scared of it though. I actually like Chucky, but I'm not going to go into that because that's not the point of this video. Although I should throw in that I don't like any of that stuff anymore because of obvious reasons, the violence. Also, I just stopped watching TV years ago because it's pretty boring to be honest. But anywho, dang bro, at first, word to bro, I hated her, found her obnoxious and annoying. But now I feel bad, you really never know someone's story for real. And that's another thing, like I'm glad that they see the truth now to a certain extent. But people really have to look at the deeper level of how these quote-unquote influencers are broken and programmed to quote-unquote influence. And there's a saying, if you believe them when they say you're doing good, you're going to believe them when they say you're doing bad. And a lot of the hate that these kids are made to get, and these industry people in general are made to get, not only is it like humiliation ritual type stuff, but it's also a part of their trauma-based mind control and programming. Because it makes them feel even more like they're all alone in the world, so the only people that they can count on are their handlers and whatever other abusers that are close to them. There's even plenty of videos of Danielle Bregoli getting on lives. I don't know about any recent ones. They were mostly like from when she was like, I don't know, 13, 15. But her getting on lives talking about how nobody understands her and how nobody effing cares about her. In fact, one of the videos where she got on live talking about how nobody understands her and they say that she's mean to her mom. She was talking in the bathroom, but then her bodyguard, quote unquote, or like manager, had came and told her that she needed to get off live and stop embarrassing herself. And she said, I'm not embarrassing anybody. I'm telling the truth. And it's like, I mean, the whole trauma-based mind control that you go through as an influencer kid especially is pretty much like you being embarrassed. So, but yeah, I even think that's the same bodyguard that was molesting her. But I always felt like her bodyguards were going to be weird and that a lot of these people are going to have like weird and SRA type bodyguards, because I mean that's just how the industry goes pretty much. And it's like I don't even really get why some of these people even need bodyguards, because nobody's actually beating on them but the people that they're around in the industry and their quote unquote family. Like they don't even really need a bodyguard not to go out. But anywho, just like Beyond Scared Straight, before they shut it down and try to like act like it never happened. That's one of the Cash for Kids system branches that I talked about before. And what is it called? I don't know if you're in the Cash for Kids system, and forgot what the part 2 was called or the remake was called. But that's what I call the entertainment side of the Cash for Kids system. The influencer kid is one side, but also shows like that and documentaries like The Boy They Call Chucky, which is on YouTube, and it's about this boy who lives in the UK or London or something like that. Maybe that is the UK, and he has a toxic family system, but he's painted as a quote-unquote bad guy, of course. But they want you to bash the kids for their trauma symptoms, or just bash them for the fact that they ended up in the abuse situations that they did. But nobody wants to talk about their trauma symptoms, their family system, the fact that these systems shouldn't even exist. They shouldn't even be locked up. They shouldn't even be at ranches. Like, these institutions shouldn't even exist in the first place, regardless of what. And the real reason that Beyond Scared Straight really got shut down, though, is because there was this one boy that was on there, and he was 18, and he was talking about how he had a life sentence. And people felt bad, and they did a petition to get him out of jail. And then he got out and went to college or something like that. Don't know anything else about the situation, what's going on, like, in recent times with him, but that's why it got shut down, because people made a petition to get somebody out. But it shouldn't have ever existed. YouTube channels like Soft White Underbelly, they really just like let people actually put the truth out there about what really goes on in the world. And like people are always saying Mark Leda shouldn't interview kids and people need to stop interviewing minors, which is so interesting because nobody ever says anything to Marcus of Atlanta Street interviews, and he's the real predatory one right there. Because like It's obvious to me, at least, that he's a Freemason. He's always trying to essay everybody that gets on his show, men, women, the kids, everybody. It's like he does so much stuff, but nobody cares about it because he's a quote-unquote good guy. He's a member of functional society. He has a job and he has a house. But the people that he's interviewing are the quote-unquote bad guys, or the people with quote-unquote learning disabilities and mental problems, or they're quote-unquote bad kids. So they don't matter. Their boundaries don't matter. Their privacy doesn't matter. But anyways, I mean, obviously Mark Leda is a creep. I don't even really believe he's human, but I mean, if it wasn't for him, let's be honest, nobody would know Billy's story, nobody would know Nova's story, nobody would know a lot of those people's stories. You wouldn't even know that they exist. So, yeah. But let's be real though, people are really saying is that I want to shut victims up. Kids shouldn't be talking about what's going on with them. That's what they're really saying. Like, one of the very first, well, I won't say that, but one of the first Cash for Kid System documentaries, as I would call it today, that really stuck out to me, I watched it before I was even like 10, and I hated the situation, and I still remember the main summary of this boy getting blamed for his issues that were obviously from his family system. So he was 8 years old. His mom and older sisters, of course, were talking junk about he was quote-unquote bad, how he had mental health issues, quote-unquote. He stopped being able to go to sleep at night, and he was sneaking out the window at 8 to go do meth with grown adults that, of course, weren't getting in trouble for it, but he was in trouble. And it's like, first of all, what 8-year-old is sneaking out the house anyways? And then to do meth? Like, so much stuff wasn't even right with that story, but he was a quote-unquote bad guy. And then another great example is Calamari Productions on YouTube. I have a couple videos about them, or at least I know I have one or two. I also have a third video where I react to a documentary that may not be by them, but it's about kids being locked up in prison. And that's titled Cash for Kid System Staff Admitting that they created an issue that isn't already there. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't even mean to put this screenshot in here, but a situation that supposedly happened, maybe it didn't, where someone called the police on a dude for holding a baby because they thought he was homeless. Now, if this is real, what they really wanted to do was get somebody's baby taken and put in CPS to be trafficked. So many homeless people have had their kids taken by CPS because they're easy targets. Because whether people even remember or know or want to believe it or not, the original point of CPS was to take babies from poor people, but more so melanated people, but also melanated poor people. That's what it's really about. Also, the fact that all these organizations go back to the Catholic Church and Freemasonry and revolve around human trafficking. The orphanages were owned by the Catholics. You can do research on the baby scandals. The hospitals were owned by the Catholics. This is a screenshot I already talked about in another video, or at least I somewhat talked about it. I didn't even mean to put this in here either, but this still goes back to the whole issue of people ignoring the real situation and the trauma symptoms, and even the fact that these kids are being trafficked and taken through SRA and just saying, oh, they're just bad, or they're just emotional teenagers. She didn't get on Dr. Phil because of that. Honestly, that woman messaged Dr. Phil about her child since she was 2. She didn't raise her right and was always planning to exploit her. That part. If my mama called me a B, good luck getting me to even come around anymore. Toxic. And that just shows the issue in the situation. Well, one of them anyways. I'm going to put this video in the description as well. And there's a lot I could say, but this even makes me think about the people that like to call somebody the B word just for fun, and then when you tell them that you're not into that, then they like flip out and say that you don't like them, because it's commonly done by Jezebelic people. And it's like, I swear, there's so many like traits that are normalized that are really Jezebelic, but yeah. Now I remember in this particular interview, or this interview clip anyways, Danielle was trying to like sugarcoat and downplay the situation with her mom, and she was like, I'm not gonna lie, my mom was kind of crazy, or is kind of crazy. It's not even about somebody being quote-unquote crazy. It's about people being demonized and abusive. But of course, she's also in the bloodline. And her dad is too. In fact, I think she mainly is in the bloodline through her dad. And then she's also talked about her dad before and how like he was doing some like rituals that sounded like with some dudes and cheating on her mom with dudes. And the fact she got that rich tells me this world is backwards. Because people don't understand the full situation. Then one of the big things when people have said stuff like this throughout the years is that they feel like these kids are just getting rich for being quote-unquote bad and disrespectful. They feel like they're going viral for being quote-unquote bad and disrespectful. These situations are pre-planned. Her becoming famous was pre-planned. If people will stop pushing this bad kid and disrespectful kid stuff, they would see the real issue and what's really going on behind the scenes. Because, like, the world is deeper than a quote-unquote bad kid or disrespectful kid. Proof Idiocracy is becoming a documentary. This also makes you think about how, like, people are told that the rappers are uneducated. But the thing is, these people are actually very educated by worldly standards. They've been Catholic private schools because they're Masons. They're very knowledgeable in the occult. They're literally raised up in the occult. They have to read all types of books about the occult, do all types of rituals, learn all types of stuff. They have to have different personalities programmed to do different things and stuff like that. People they really just don't understand. These people are very educated by worldly standards. They're literally CIA and FBI plants. So, like, they're just playing acts pretty much. That's what people don't understand. You don't even know half these musicians' real names or industry people's real names because they change their names so much. Which is a common practice with the serpent seed bloodline anyways. But, I mean, Tupac, which I'm pretty sure he's in there. He's in some bloodline. There's a couple of them. I've actually talked about it before. These Muslim people, these quote-unquote leaders, these Masons, these Prince Halls, Dr. Umar, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, they're all in these bloodlines. I didn't mean to put this in here, but we should know the answer to this question.